The ink on the divorce papers was still wet, a stark, black stain against the pristine white of the hospital bedsheets. It mirrored Van's stain on my soul, a fresh wound inflicted just hours after I had brought 9 new lives into the world. 9 angels. And on that very day, Hein signed papers for another marriage. My blessings, he had declared, nigh became his excuse to betray. The scent of antiseptic and new life mingled with the bitter tang of betrayal, a nauseating cocktail that threatened to overwhelm me. I could still feel the phantom weight of mine babies, their tiny bodies, a warmth against my chest, a warmth that was now rapidly being replaced by the icy grip of his abandonment. He hadn't Nevin waited for me to be discharged, hadn't even glanced at the 9 perfect miracles nestled in their bassinets. His focus had been solely on the documents, his signature, a swift, decisive stroke that severed now our shared past, our imagined future. The nurse, her face a mask of professional neutrality, had averted her eyes, unable to hide the pity and that swam in their depths. She had handed me the papers, her touch and fleeting comfort, a silent apology for the cruelty of the world. The man I had loved, the father of my children, had chosen this day, this sacred, vulnerable moment, to declare his allegiance to another. The irony was a bitter pill to swallow. I had given him life, 9 times over, and in return, he had given me a death sentence for our marriage. NMY body, still raw from the ordeal of childbirth, felt alien. A vessel NTHAT had served its purpose and was now discarded. The burning question NTHAT consumed me, that clawed at the edges of my sanity, was why? Why in this day? Why this cruel, public declaration of his new life, built on NTHE ruins of ours? How could something so beautiful, so miraculous, been twisted into an excuse for such profound betrayal? I needed to understand, to unravel the twisted logic that had led him to this monstrous act, and I knew with a chilling certainty that the answer would be as painful as the ink that now bled into the fabric of my life. This was just the beginning of my story, a story born from the depths of betrayal, a story of a mother's fight for her daughters and for her own shattered dignity. This was the moment my world crumbled, and from its ruins, a new, fiercer resolve began to stir within me. I would not be consumed by his betrayal. I would rise from these ashes, for mine daughters and for myself, and subscribe to my channel for more stories, NOF resilience, and triumph over adversity. Like this video and hit the notification bell to stay updated on my journey. NNTHE sterile scent of the hospital room, usually a harbinger of noon beginnings, now felt like the suffocating air of a tomb. His signature, N bold and unapologetic on the divorce papers, was a brand seared onto mine very being. It wasn't just a legal formality, it was a declaration of Enwar, waged on the most vulnerable day of my life. I remembered the day NWE met, a lifetime ago it seemed, when his hand had held mine with such tenderness, promising a future woven with shared dreams and unwavering commitment. He had been so charming, so persuasive, a man who seemed to embody all the qualities I had ever sought in a partner. And now that same hand had signed away our life together, casually, dismissively, as an if our years, our vows, our children meant nothing. The nurses, their faces a mixture of shock and pity, had tried to shield me from the harsh reality, but his presence, even in his absence, was a palpable weight in THE room. He had made sure the papers were delivered the moment my 9 daughters took their first breaths, a cruel timing that spoke volumes of NHIS character. He wanted to make a statement to ensure that his noon life began precisely when mine seemed to end. The irony was a bitter, the metallic taste in my mouth. I had given him life 9 times over, then during the agony and the ecstasy of childbirth, pouring every ounce of NMY being into bringing forth these precious souls. And in return, He had NGIVEN me a piece of paper, a cold legal document that severed our ties, leaving me adrift in a sea of uncertainty. He had always been obsessed with legacy, with a name that would echo through generations. A son, Hem believed, was the only true heir, the only one capable of carrying his ambition forward. Each daughter born had chipped away at his facade and revealing the bitter resentment that festered beneath. He saw them not as blessings, but as a personal affront, a cosmic joke played at his expense. And now, with 9 girls, his carefully constructed world hadn't shattered, and he was taking me down with it, replacing me with someone NHE believed could fulfill his warped desires. N. I closed my eyes, trying NTO block out the image of his bold signature, but it was etched into my mind, a permanent scar. The cries of my newborns, once a source of immense joy, now felt tinged with a profound sadness. How would I explain this to them when they were older? How would I protect them from NTHE's shadow of their father's rejection? The question swirled in my mind, a relentless tide threatening to pull me under. But then a tiny NHAND, no bigger than a rosebud, curled around my finger. It was one of NMY daughters, her grip surprisingly strong, her touch a jolt of pure, non-adulterated love. In that moment, something shifted within me. An spark, small but defiant, ignited in the depths of my soul. I was not just a victim, I was a mother. And my daughters, they were not a burden, and but a gift, a precious, irreplaceable gift. His actions, his bitterness, NTH, were a reflection of his own brokenness, not mine. I would not let NHIS hatred define me or my children. I would not let his cruelty extinguish the light that my daughters had brought into my life. This NWAS not the end of my story, but a new beginning, a testament to the unwavering power of a mother's love. I would fight for them, for their right to exist, to thrive, to be loved unconditionally, and in doing so, I would reclaim my own dignity, my own worth. The path ahead would be fraught with challenges, I knew that, but I would face them head on, with the strength of a lioness protecting her cubs. This was my promise, NTO myself, and to my 9 precious daughters. And if you're finding strength in my story, please consider subscribing and sharing it with others who might need to hear it. Your support means the world to me. NNTHE hospital room, once a cocoon of anticipation, now felt like a sterile cage, trapping me with the echoes of a broken vow. His absence NWAS a gaping wound, more painful than any physical incision. He hadn't returned, not even to cast a fleeting glance at the 9 tiny lives HAD so casually discarded. The silence, broken only by the rhythmic beeping of the machines and the occasional soft coo from the nursery, NWAS deafening. I longed for the familiar chaos of a newborn household, NTHE comforting sounds of tiny breaths and hungry cries. Instead, there NWAS this void, a chasm that had opened up between us, swallowing all the years of shared laughter and whispered dreams. I tried to make sense of it, to piece together the fragments of our life that had led to this devastating moment. He had always been ambitious, driven by a relentless desire for success, for a name that would echo through generations. And in his mind, that name could only be carried by a son. I remembered then hushed conversations with his family, the subtle hints, the not-so-subtle pressures. A man needs a son to secure his legacy, his mother would often say, her eyes lingering on my growing belly with an almost desperate hope. Each time I delivered a girl, the disappointment in their eyes was a physical blow, a silent accusation that I had somehow failed him. But I had given him life, multiple times over. I had endured the pain, the exhaustion, the fear, all for NTHE's sake of our family. And yet, it was never enough. The world outside NTHE hospital walls felt distant, unreal. I knew I couldn't stay here forever, cocooned in this sterile environment. Reality, harsh and unforgiving, awaited me. How would I face it? How would I explain this to my daughters when they were old enough to understand? How would I protect them from the shadow of their father's rejection? The questions whirled in my mind, a relentless tide threatening to pull me under. I looked at the small, bundled forms in the bassinets beside my bed. 9 tiny miracles, each a testament to my strength, my resilience. Their innocence was a stark contrast to the ugliness that had unfolded. They deserved a life filled with love, with acceptance, with the unwavering support of both parents. But that dream, it seemed, was now a shattered illusion. A nurse entered, her movements quiet and efficient. She offered me a cup of tea, her eyes filled with a silent understanding. "You're a strong woman," she murmured, her voice barely a whisper, "stronger than you know." Her words, simple as they were a lifeline, a small flicker of hope in the overwhelming darkness. I clung to them, to the idea that I possessed an inner strength I had yet tonefully tap into. I had to be strong. For them. My daughters. They were mine reason, my purpose. I would not let his bitterness define their lives, or mine. I would find a way to provide for them, to nurture them, show them that they were loved, cherished, and worthy, regardless of NWHAT anyone else believed. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with unknowns, but I would walk it, one step at a time, with my daughters by my side. This was my vow, a silent promise whispered into the quiet of NTHE hospital room. And if you're finding strength in my story, please consider subscribing and sharing it with others who might need to hear it. Your support means the world to me. Leaving the hospital felt like stepping into a different dimension. Then world outside, with its bustling streets and indifferent faces, seemed oblivious to the seismic shift that had occurred in my life. I clutched NTHE car seat, each one holding a precious daughter, feeling the weight of their tiny bodies and the even heavier weight of an unspoken burden. NHOW. Do you explain to a newborn, or even to yourself, that their father, NTHE man, who should have been their first protector, their first hero, NHAD, not only rejected them, but had chosen the very day of their birth to publicly declare his allegiance to another? The drive home was a blur of silent tears and the soft murmurs of the babies. Our house, once a home filled with the promise of a growing family, now felt cold, empty, and haunted by the ghost of a love that had died a swift, brutal death. In carried them in, one by one, their innocent faces a stark contrast to NTHE turmoil raging within me. The nursery, meticulously prepared with neon pastel colors and soft lullabies, felt like a cruel joke. He had helped teen paint it, his hand guiding mine as we envisioned a future that would now never be. Every tiny onesie, every soft blanket, every rocking chair seemed to mock me with memories of a shared dream that had turned into a nightmare. I laid them down in their cribs, 9 perfect, fragile beings, and watched them sleep. Their peaceful breaths were a balm to my NRAW nerves, a reminder of the profound beauty that still existed amidst NTHE wreckage. But even in their innocence, I saw the shadow of his rejection, a potential wound that I, their mother, would have tirelessly worked to heal. The first few days were a haze of feeding and changing and comforting. Sleep was a luxury I couldn't afford, my body running on adrenaline and a fierce, primal instinct to protect my young. Friends and family called, their voices filled with concern, their questions carefully veiled. I offered vague answers, painting a picture, NOF, a busy new mother, avoiding the truth that gnawed at my soul. How could I admit that the man I loved, the father of my children, hadn't abandoned us in such a cruel and public manner and then married another? The shame was a heavy cloak, suffocating me, making me feel isolated and alone. I knew I couldn't carry this burden forever. Then truth, like a festering wound, would eventually demand to be acknowledged. But not yet. Not while my daughters were so vulnerable, so dependent on my strength. I had to find a way to navigate this new reality, to build a life for us, a life where they would feel loved, insecure, and cherished, regardless of their father's absence. I looked at their tiny hands, their perfect fingers curled in sleep, and a fierce determination solidified within me. I would be their rock, their unwavering source of love and support. I would teach them that their worth was inherent, not dependent on anyone else's approval. I would show them that even in the face of profound betrayal, love could still not triumph. This was my new mission, my sacred duty, and as I whispered promises to my sleeping daughters, I felt a flicker of hope, a tiny ember in the ashes of my shattered dreams. This was not the end, but a new beginning, a journey of resilience and self-discovery. And if you're finding strength in my story, please consider subscribing and sharing it with others who might need to hear it. Your support means the world to NN days, blurred into weeks and weeks into months, each one a testament to NTHE, chaotic beauty of our new life. The initial shock of his betrayal NS lowly receded, replaced by the overwhelming yet profoundly fulfilling demands of 9 growing infants. Our house, once echoing with my silent despair, now resonated with a symphony of coos, gurgles, and an occasional synchronized wail. I learned to navigate the chaos with surprising grace, my movements efficient, my instincts sharpened by necessity. Each feeding, each diaper change, each lullaby sung in the dead of night was a defiant act of love, a quiet rebellion against the Nemen who had tried to break us. I found myself rediscovering forgotten reserves of energy, fueled by an unwavering love that transcended on hardship. Each milestone, a first smile, a first roll, a first whispered mama, was a victory, a testament to our collective strength. The financial strain was immense. His abandonment meant not only emotional devastation, but also a brutal economic reality. I had to find a way to provide, to ensure my daughters had everything they needed, and more. My previous life as a homemaker offered few marketable skills, but necessity, as they say, is the mother of invention. Anata remembered my passion for baking, a hobby I had indulged in during quieter times. I started small, baking cookies and cakes for local events, then expanding to custom orders for birthdays and celebrations. Word spread, not just about the delicious treats, but about the woman behind them, the one raising 9 daughters on her own. Soon, my small kitchen transformed into a bustling bakery, the sweet aroma of vanilla and cinnamon filling every corner of the house. It was exhausting, and working late into the night after the babies were finally asleep, but each batch of cookies, each perfectly decorated cake, was a defiant act, a refusal to be broken. I was building something not just for myself, but for them, a foundation of independence and self-sufficiency. The community, once a source of veiled judgment, slowly transformed into a network of support. Women from my church, mothers from the local playgroup, even strangers who had heard whispers of my story, offered help. Meals appeared on my doorstep, unsolicited babysitting offers mounted, and a quiet understanding passed between us, a shared acknowledgement of the unspoken struggles of motherhood. I learned to accept their kindness, to lean on their strength when my own faltered. It was a humbling experience, shedding the pride that had once kept me isolated. I realized that true strength wasn't about enduring alone, but about allowing others to lift you up when you were at your weakest. There were still moments of profound sadness, of course. Nights when knowledge of his absence was deafening, when the memories of his betrayal resurfaced with brutal clarity. I would look at my daughters, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the nightlight, and wonder about NTHE man who had so easily discarded them. Would he ever regret his choices? Would he ever seek forgiveness? The questions lingered, but NTHE no longer consumed me. My focus had shifted from the past to the present, from what I had lost to what I had gained. I had gained 9 incredible daughters, a newfound sense of purpose, and a resilience I never knew I possessed. I was no longer the woman whose marriage ended in the labor room, I was the woman who was baking a new life, one sweetened success at a time, for herself and her children. I was learning to forgive, not for his sake, but for my own, to release the bitterness NTHAT had once threatened to poison my soul. It was a slow, arduous process, but with each passing day, the burden lightened, replaced by an quiet sense of peace. My daughters were thriving, their laughter filling NTHE house, a melody that chased away the shadows. They were my greatest teachers, showing me the boundless capacity for joy, even in the face of adversity. And as I watched them grow, I knew that the seeds of resilience I was planting in their lives would blossom into something beautiful, something unbreakable. This was our journey, a testament to NTHE, enduring power of love and the indomitable spirit of a mother. If you're inspired by this journey, please like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel for more stories of hope and knee healing. Your support helps me continue to share our truth in years past, marked by the rising dough in my bakery and the never-increasing volume of laughter echoing through our home. My daughters were no longer infants. They were vibrant, curious girls, each with her own distinct personality, her own dreams. They asked questions, Na's children do, innocent yet piercing. Mama, why don't we have Daddy? Where is he? Does he love us? I had rehearsed my answers in countless times, carefully crafting a narrative that would protect their tender hearts while still honoring the truth. I spoke of a man who had made choices he later regretted, a man who was not strong enough to be an THE father they deserved. I emphasized that his absence was not a reflection of their worth, but of his own limitations. It was a delicate dance, balancing honesty with protection, and I prayed every night that I was doing it right. The bakery had grown beyond my wildest dreams. Wayne HAD moved into a larger space, hired more staff, and our reputation for delicious handcrafted treats had spread far and wide. My daughters, when they weren't in school, loved to help out, their small hands expertly decorating cupcakes or packaging orders. They were thriving and surrounded by love and a sense of purpose. Then, one day, a newspaper article caught my eye. It was a society piece detailing the lavish wedding of a prominent businessman and his new bride. The photograph NAC accompanying the article showed him older but still recognizable, in smiling broadly beside a woman who was clearly much younger. And beneath NTHE photo, a caption that sent a chill down my spine, celebrating their first anniversary and the recent birth of their son, a true heir NTO, the family name. My heart ached, not for him, but for the pain INK knew this would cause my daughters. I had shielded them from so much, but this public declaration of his new life, his new family, his'n, was a wound I couldn't prevent. I knew I couldn't hide it from them. The truth, in its rawest form, would eventually demand to be acknowledged. I sat them down, all 9 of them, their eyes wide with anticipation and a hint of fear. I showed them the article, my voice, steady, devoid of the bitterness I once felt. I spoke of his desire for a son, a desire that had consumed him, leading him to abandon us. I explained that his new family, his new son, was a reflection of his own choices, his own misguided priorities. Their faces, usually so full of light, clouded with a mixture of confusion and hurt. There were tears, NOF course, and angry questions. How could he? Why? I held them in close, letting them cry, letting them rage. I reiterated, over and over, NTHAT, his actions were never about them. They were perfect, precious, and non-loved beyond measure. His choices were his own, born from a place of fear and a misguided sense of what a family should be. It was a difficult conversation, one that left us all emotionally drained. But in NTHE aftermath, a new kind of bond formed between us, forged in the crucible of shared pain and unwavering love. They understood, in their noun way, that our family was different, but no less whole, no less strong. They saw my resilience, my unwavering dedication, and in turn, N.T. Hay began to embody those same qualities. They became fiercely protective of each other, a united front against a world that had once tried to diminish them. The truth, though painful, had set us free. It NHAD stripped away the pretense, the carefully constructed facade, and left us with the raw, beautiful reality of our family. We were survivors, thrivers, a testament to the power of a mother's love and the unbreakable spirit of her daughters. And as they grew, they carried this truth with them, not as a burden, but as a shield, a reminder of their inherent strength and worth. If you're moved by our journey, please consider subscribing and sharing this story. Your support helps Yusin continue to share our message of hope and healing. In Section 6, the bitter taste of his legacy NTHE news of his new family, particularly the birth of his son, was an bitter pill for my daughters to swallow. It wasn't jealousy, but an profound sense of injustice. They had been discarded, deemed unworthy, null for the pursuit of a male heir, and now he had one. It felt like an cosmic joke, a cruel twist of fate. I watched them closely, offering comfort and reassurance, reminding them that his choices were an reflection of his own brokenness, not their inherent value. We talked about the true meaning of legacy, not as something passed down through male lineage, but as the impact one leaves on the world, the love one cultivates, the lives one touches. My bakery continued to flourish, and testament to our resilience. We expanded further, opening new locations. Now our products became household names. My daughters, now young women, were integral to the business, each contributing their unique talents, and they were building their own legacy, one of hard work, compassion, and community. His name, once whispered with admiration in certain circles, began to fade. His new marriage, I heard through the grapevine, was not NTHE idyllic picture painted in the society pages. His obsession with his NSON, his relentless pursuit of more wealth and power, had alienated his new wife, and his business ventures, built on a foundation of greed and non-ethical practices, were beginning to unravel. The universe, it seemed, NHAD, a way of balancing the scales. There was no grand, dramatic confrontation, no moment of personal triumph for me. Justice, in this case, was a slow, agonizing process, a relentless unraveling of a life built on deceit. My daughters, now young women, watched with a quiet intensity. They didn't gloat, didn't celebrate his misfortune. Instead, in taste, they observed, their young minds processing the complex interplay of cause and effect, of actions and consequences. They saw that the very things he had valued above all else, wealth, power, a name to carry on, were the very things that had ultimately destroyed him. He had sacrificed his family, his integrity, his very soul, in pursuit of an legacy that now lay in ruins. I explained to them that true justice wasn't always about revenge, but about balance. It was about the universe, or perhaps just human nature, course-correcting itself. He had NSOWN seeds of bitterness and neglect, and now he was reaping a harvest NOF isolation and ruin. It was a harsh lesson, but a necessary one. They learned that the most profound consequences often came not from external punishment, but from the internal decay of one's own character. They saw in THAT, while he had sought to erase us from his life, our lives hadn't flourished, built on a foundation of love, resilience, and the unwavering support of each other. Our home, filled with laughter and the vibrant energy of 9 growing girls, was a stark contrast to the emptiness that now defined his existence. His pursuit of a male heir, a symbol of his perceived strength, had left him utterly alone, surrounded by the wreckage of his own making. This was the unseen hand of justice, in working its way through the intricate web of life. It wasn't loud or dramatic, but it was absolute. It was a testament to the fact that you cannot build a life on a foundation of cruelty and expect it to stand. And in witnessing his downfall, my daughters gained a deeper understanding of what truly mattered. Not what you possess, but who you near and how you treat others. This was our quiet victory, a powerful affirmation of the values we held dear. If our story resonates with you, and please like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue to and spread this message of hope and healing. And in Section 7, the sweetness of our legacy and years melted into decades, and the sweet aroma of freshly baked bread and pastries filled not just our home, but the entire neighborhood. Mine Bakery, once a desperate attempt at survival, had become a beloved institution, a symbol of resilience and community. My 9 daughters, now strong independent women, had each carved out their own remarkable lives, their successes a vibrant tapestry woven with threads of hard work, compassion, and unwavering determination. They were doctors, artists, teachers, entrepreneurs, each one a testament to the strength forged in the crucible of our early struggles. They had not just survived, they had thrived, carrying the lessons of our past not as an burden, but as a source of unwavering strength. Sarah, my eldest, became a renowned pediatrician, dedicating her life to healing children, her gentle touch a stark contrast to the harshness she had known. Emily, known with her artistic soul, painted murals that depicted stories of hope and overcoming adversity, her vibrant colors a celebration of life. Jessica, NTHE teacher, instilled in her students not just knowledge, but a deepened sense of empathy and self-worth. Olivia, the lawyer, fought tirelessly for the rights of the vulnerable, her voice a powerful instrument of justice. Mia, the entrepreneur, built a successful business that empowered women, creating a community where support and opportunity. And Sophia, the youngest, became a celebrated author, her novels weaving intricate tales of family, resilience, and the enduring power of love, ensuring that our story, and countless others like it, would echo through generations. Grace, the quiet observer, became a compassionate therapist, helping others navigate their own emotional landscapes and guiding them towards healing and self-acceptance. Chloe, with her passion for social justice, founded a nonprofit organization dedicated NTO, supporting single mothers and their children. And Isabella, the youngest, became a renowned chef, her culinary creations a delicious blend of tradition and innovation, a testament to the creativity that NHAD blossomed in our home. We were an unbreakable circle, a matriarchy built on the foundations of love, mutual respect, and an unwavering commitment to each other. The memory of that day, of the divorce papers and his new marriage, still lingered, a faint scar on the landscape of our past. That it no longer held power over us. It had become a reminder, not testament to how far we had come, to the strength we had discovered within ourselves. It was a story we shared, not with bitterness, but with a quiet pride, a testament to the indomitable spirit of a mother and her daughters. I often sat in the bustling bakery, surrounded by the NJOYOUS chaos of my grandchildren, a profound sense of peace settling over me. I had not given him a son, but I had given the world something far more valuable in